You-est You listeners, this is Julie. I am so excited for you today. You have no idea what a treat you're in. I am over the top, over the moon, like literally jumping out of my seat here because you get the honor to meet Pat Flynn today. Pat has been, he may not even know this, he's been a mentor and guide to me in many ways. So let me tell you a little bit about Pat. Pat is a father, he's a husband, he's an entrepreneur, and a beloved thought leader who lives and works in San Diego, California. He is an expert in the area of online entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and lifestyle businesses. Pat owns several successful online businesses and is a professional blogger, keynote speaker, Wall Street Journal bestselling author, and host of the Smart Passive Income and Ask Pat podcasts, which have earned a combined total of over 55 million downloads. That's unbelievable, amazing. Multiple awards and features in publications such as the New York Times and Forbes. He is also an advisor to ConvertKit, Lead Pages, and Teachable, which I love, and other companies in the digital marketing arena. Despite his success in business, Pat's greatest joys are spending time with his family and friends, as well as helping inspire and educate others on how to succeed with their own entrepreneurial careers. Pat is the author of Letting Go, Will It Fly, and his newest book, Superfans, which you will be able to find out all about. We're going to have everything in the show notes, all the links. And really, without further ado, I'm so excited to have you here, Pat. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just really excited to be here too, because I know you and I have met a couple times before in person through our mutual friend, Hal Elrod, and just to be here on your show now, just such an honor. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to just dive right in. You know, this area that I'm really obsessed with, the name of the show is called the You-est You. And it's this idea, you know, my belief is we all have this unique brilliance, these sacred gifts that we come here to live and experience and to share. And one of the things about you I've just noticed is not only that you are able to share that with so many and inspire so many people, but just the authenticity of how you're living your life. And I'm assuming it didn't all start with where you are now with over 55 million downloads and 3 books. So maybe, you know, for those, I know a lot of people are going to be tuning in and want to know more about you. I think maybe you can just share a little bit about you in the earlier days and kind of how that's led to where you are now.
Sure, absolutely. And I'll start with in 2008, early 2008, I was 4 years into my architecture career. I graduated from Berkeley with a degree, and I just was wanting to be an architect for the rest of my life. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's funny because when a lot of people see what I do now, they're like, oh, you escaped the 9 to 5. And I was like, no, I didn't want to escape. I absolutely loved what I was doing, but I got kicked out of it because in mid of 2008, I got laid off. And I tell this story completely in my book, Let Go, which is about all the things that happened about being let go, but also how I had to let go of who I thought I was supposed to be, which I later found out was who my parents thought I should be, what society thought I should be, what we're supposed to do, right? And I did everything I was supposed to, get 4.0 grade point average, magna cum laude from Berkeley, all that stuff, yet still I was let go. And I eventually got to the point where I was like, you know what, I need to take control. I have to, if I fail, I want it to be my own fault, not anything else that would be able to have control over me. So what I ended up doing was I took some knowledge I had about a particular architectural exam called the LEED exam. Most people have never even heard of it. And I packaged that up and I put it onto a website and I started devoting 12, 16, sometimes 24 hours a day, just going into forums and answering questions about that exam. Because I remember when I took that exam, there wasn't much help out there. And I wanted to be that person. I stepped up into that role and I started to, within a couple months, become known as like the go-to guy for that particular exam. And a lot of people started coming to my website. A lot of people started sharing my website. And eventually I ended up publishing a study guide in October of that year, which just blew me away about just how successful it was. I had never done anything like that before. It was literally just a Word document turned into a PDF that I sold via PayPal. And I remember everything from my first sale, which was just mind-blowing. It was both a mixture of excitement and just being scared that like the FBI was going to come knock on my door because I was doing something. It just didn't seem real because it was all online. However, after October, I checked my account and I saw that I had made $7,908.55 from a $19.99 ebook. And it completely changed my life. It changed my life because it showed me that number one, I had this ability to serve others in this very small space and get paid for it and help people. Because the other thing that came out of this was not just, being able to survive my layoff and actually making more money from that, but the recognition I was getting. I had done so much work in the architecture field, but nobody would ever know that. However, in this space, I was getting these notes online and handwritten notes from people saying, you finally helped me pass this exam, and it feels so good. I got a promotion because of you. And I got one particular woman, her name was Jackie. She emailed me and said, Pat, this test and the fact that you helped me pass it after a year of studying, and I found your exam guide and I passed within 2 weeks. Like, I was able to get a promotion. I was able to get a raise. I'm now able to take my family to Disneyland. Like, can I invite you to dinner? Like, all this stuff. I was like, whoa. I'm just like a dude on the other side of the internet helping people pass an exam. Like, you want to take me to dinner with you? And then at the end of this email, it said like, I'm a huge fan. Jackie was her name. And I was like, huge fan. This doesn't make any sense, because I'm a huge fan of Back to the Future and movies and superstars and athletes, but not like of, somebody who passes an exam for you or helps you pass an exam for you. But then I realized a couple months later, I checked my customer list and I saw that there were like 35 other people who were from her same company that also bought my exam guide. And I later found out that she had gone and eventually, became an ambassador for my guide and told all of her coworkers to go and get it too. And that one person, Jackie, turned into like 35 additional sales, and some of them turned into more sales, and kind of just spread. And the reason why this book, Superfans, is coming out, and it really starts with that story with Jackie, is because I think a lot of us are so jaded by things that are supposedly there to grow our business, like search engine optimization or paying for ads and social media and more followers, more exposure, more of all this. But then what happens when those people are in your brand? How can you serve them in a way that gets them to become one of those ambassadors like Jackie? And if you only had like 10 or 12 Jackies who you were serving, I mean, that could be enough to support your business and your life and whatever it is that you have to offer that's special that you have. And so what I do is I try to help people find what it is about them that makes them unique, like you talk about, and then how to turn that into dollars by serving, not by pretending, not by convincing people of one thing and then giving them another thing. It's by fully being yourself and having your essentially tribe come to you for who you are and what you have to offer, and you being able to develop those fans who will help bring in more people. And that exposure that you've been looking for is going to come naturally based on the experiences that you provide for the people in your business. Because I didn't realize it with Jackie, there were certain things that I did. Like I reached out, I answered her an email of hers that she had very quickly, and that like stood out to her. She's like, whoa, this person's actually real. And then later on when she passed the exam, I remember sending her a congratulatory note. And just like little things like that go a very long way. But as much as social media and the internet is supposedly bringing us closer together because now we have access to everybody, it's actually tearing us apart because we are taking for granted that connection. And I, with Superfans, want to bring people back to where we should be, which is like how it was in small town. When we lived in a small town, we shopped at Bob the baker, his bakery, because it was Bob, and Bob knew our family. When you stepped into his bakery, he was like, hey, how are the kids doing? Like, yeah, I saw him on the field the other day. Like, he scored a goal. That was great. Like, little things like that keep you in business. Yeah. And we're forgetting that now because of all those vanity metrics. So I just get really passionate about sort of what I feel business should be and how it should be done versus how people are being sort of duped into thinking, okay, well, more Instagram followers means more money. Yeah. But I don't know if you saw this story recently where this woman, she had like, I think 2 point something million followers on Instagram, and she tried to sell a t-shirt and she only sold like 26 of them. And she was complaining. She's like, I have 2 million followers. Like, why didn't I sell 26? Well, like, why didn't I like sell millions of t-shirts? It's because she didn't have that connection with her people. She just expected those numbers meant dollars. So anyway, I could keep going here, but I'll let you chime in and take this wherever you want. But I get so passionate about this because that kind of experience that I provided for my audience when I started in architecture was the reason why I became successful. It's the reason why I'm successful in smart passive income, and I'm able to stand out amongst everybody else in the space. So you think about like competition, there's nobody like you, and that's the advantage that you have is you. And the more you know about that and what you can offer, the more you're going to attract those right people to help support you. And it's just a beautiful thing.
You could keep going. I'm like, I'm so I'm so amazed. It's such a great story. And I think back to your, the being let go and how that ended up being such a gift, and that you
Hmm.
use that, just
Absolutely a gift.
think a gift, right? And how you use that to help others by creating this study guide for the exam. I do know a little because I know some architects. It's not easy. That's not an easy.
It's definitely not easy. I mean, we have, I mean, 10, 12-hour days on the regular,
Wow.
right? And this one little exam was just like a little pain point, but for certain people who were studying for it, it was a huge pain point. And I
Yeah.
remember I was interviewed on a show called Mixergy once, hosted by a man named Andrew Warner. And I was both excited because I love Andrew. He's a great interviewer, but scared because he asks very, very to the point questions. And I was scared of
Mm.
the questions he was going to ask me. And of course, right when I got on the show, he asked me a very direct question. He was like, Pat, okay, you're successful with like this little architecture site and this other website that you have. And, you're doing all these little small things, but you're not changing the world with them. You like, why don't you use that energy to create the next, Excel or Uber or something big? And I was like, you know what? Like, I might not be creating something that changes the entire world, but for these people, I'm changing their world because that's the biggest pain that they have right now.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that's a really good answer. And I was like, yeah, that was a good answer. I came up with that reply, but I'm glad I said that. But it's true. I think, for those of us who want to help others, I think when we try to help everybody, we actually end up helping nobody. And the
Right.
more tuned in you can get with who it is that you're serving and what they need help with, the more in tune that you can get with the language that they use, which I talk a lot about in the book, because a lot of us have those solutions, but we don't talk to them in a way that they go, oh, you're my guy or you're my gal.
Yeah.
When you understand the lyrics that your audience uses, like that's
Mm.
when they get to listen to the music, right? When you speak the same language they do. And there's all these tactics in the book that I talk about from the moment people find you, like uh, using the right lyrics to get them to sort of activate, like, oh, this is the right person I should be following, to providing small, quick wins up front,
Mm.
to again, fully being yourself and adding more of your personality into your brand. I think a lot of people are also afraid to do that.
Yeah.
I remember some of the brands that I followed when I first started learning internet marketing and online business were people who, I was into, for example, UFC fighting back in the day. And there was
Right.
this guy named Jeremy Shoemaker who his stuff was okay, but I liked him because he also followed UFC. And he would, and every once in a while in his articles, just talk about like, hey, anybody going to see the fight tomorrow? And I'd be like, yeah, I am. And
Yeah.
now we're like closer, even though I don't know him. I feel like we're a little closer because I know a little bit about him and it matches the things that, I like too. I'm not a UFC fan anymore, but I do know that I have a lot of people in my audience who, for example, will, when I see them in person for the first time ever, but they've heard my show before, they think of that one thing that they can relate to. For example, maybe they were in marching band, which I was. And a
Right.
lot of people who follow me know that. And if they were in marching band too, we immediately can have like hours long conversation about what band was like and what camp was like and how hard it was, but how fun it was performing and all that stuff. I'm also half Filipino. And I find that, when I go to conferences and people have heard that I'm half Filipino, they immediately go to that. Like, hey, was it your mom or your dad that was Filipino? Oh, what part of the Philippines? Oh, what do you like to eat? Like, we just have starting these crazy conversations, and I don't even know this person's name yet. And so this is what's really cool about putting a little bit of yourself in your brand is people will start to connect with you just
Yeah.
like they would connect with friends. These are little things that you know about your friends. So a lot of people I teach business to, they're like, I don't know, I'm a little scared of putting myself out there. And I'm like, no, that's what you need to do because that's how you're going to attract the people who will like you for you. What really irks me is the people who try to pretend to be somebody that they're not.
Mm.
They
Oh
like
yeah.
Lamborghinis or mansions. And yeah, you're attracting people because people are attracted to the Lamborghinis and the mansions.
Yeah.
They're not attracted to you.
Yeah.
So when push comes to shove and you really want to start serving them, well, you're not going to be able to do it because they're not connected to you. They're connected to the things that are around you that you've pretended to be a part of. So there's a lot of things like that in the book about like when you first meet people or when first people find you, how to get them activated to want to become a subscriber, to want to like dig deeper into what you have. And then from there, it's about getting them into your community. Because when people not only find their leader, but other people who are following their leader that
Right.
are just like them, then that's when they want to stay. This is why you see in music, right? Like Taylor Swift, I mean, she has a huge amount of fans, but they're known as Swifties, right? Like they have a name and they all
Right.
connect with each other. And whenever Taylor Swift has something in the news going on, her Swifties are like the first ones there to show up on the front lines to like support her. And right now, I think the latest thing that she's going through is some guy named Scooter Braun has purchased the company that owns her music, but she has heard things about him, and now her fans are like, no, like Scooter. And it's funny how they show up. And I
Right.
found the same thing to happen with my audience on my website at SPI. Team Flynn, as they're known. And whenever I have like a troll or somebody show up in the comments, like they're there, like fighting for me before I even know that person existed
Mm-hmm.
or that person said those things. It's just so incredible. And whenever I'm in a bind, like they're there for me.
Yeah.
And it's because they feel this attachment, and it's become a part of their lives. It's just incredible, and everybody can do this. No matter what you do, you can have people who will love and support you so much that they will shout from the rooftops you and your brand, and spread that message for you, so that you don't even have to worry about SEO. You don't have to worry about advertising. It'll all be done automatically. And this is where things are going. We're starting to see social media start to close up a little bit with the algorithms, and Facebook and Instagram like holding back from the people that, yes, they said they wanted to follow us, but yet they still don't see our messages. Same thing on YouTube, same thing on email. It's hard to get through. But when you have those fans, they're going to fight to make sure they get you. And it's just a beautiful thing. I think this is what all businesses should do, personal brand or not.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things, and you mentioned it earlier, I love the two things that keep coming through to me are, one, being authentic, really like sharing yourself,
Yeah,
sharing vulnerably, authentically who you are, so people can actually connect. It's not the storefront or the mansion.
the
It's really
facade.
like the aspect of you. And then I love your focus on serving, and that those two keys. Is that, it mean, give us an overview with super fans, because you've been alluding to different aspects of it. I can't wait to get my hands on it, because I'm like, I've worked with a lot of different entrepreneurs. I'm one myself. And I think
Mhm.
this is a place where many people get tripped up, like, oh, I should do this and I need to do that. And it's
Right.
like, what I'm hearing is stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane and build those relationships. I think that we often forget the most important part of business is the relationship.
Yeah.
But we're so focused on the funnels and the marketing channels and the
Yeah.
data and the analytics and all that stuff, and the relationships get lost. The thing is, it's hard to measure, and I think that's why it's
Yeah.
not focused on so much. The nice thing about social media and email is there's literally numbers that tell us whether it's working or not,
Yeah.
right? And for me, one of the things that surprises a lot of people is like, I don't really pay attention to the numbers so much, as much as if you're watching this right now, you would see a video or a board behind me with a bunch of notes on it. And these are all handwritten thank you notes that my audience has sent me. Not all of them, not even a fraction of them. But this is what
Wow.
motivates me. This is my barometer for success. Am
Mm.
I getting people to spend a little bit of time to handwrite me a message to say thank you? No, not everybody's going to do that. But this is what allows me to know, am I actually helping people know enough that they would want to repay me with a thank you in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah.
And that's what's helping me remember that it's all about the relationship. It's all about that connection
Yeah.
right at the start, but that continued connection over time. And it's about me going above and beyond to make sure people know that they are belonging, that they feel like they're being taken care of, right? Like, which is better, when you go to a restaurant and your water is empty and then you have to go and ask to get your water refilled, or when the waiter, when it's halfway through, they come by and they fill it up for you without you even asking? That's the level of service that you need to be providing across all content platforms. And this is why knowing the problems of your audience is so important, because you can solve those problems before they even ask for help. And that's when they stick to you like glue, and they will share your message with the world. And that's what really this is all about. It's all about the relationship. And we're forgetting that.
Yeah.
There's some really good old books out there that deal with this kind of stuff, like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yep.
But like, it's getting lost. It's getting lost in all the noise. It's getting lost in all the social media and all the numbers. And we got to go back to that. We got to go back to the numbers. And what's the beauty of this is with true fans, super fans, you don't need very many of them.
Mm.
Because those are the people who are going to be repeat customers, who are going to buy everything that you come out with. These are the people who, if you're a musician, they're going to drive 8 hours just to see your set. They're going to buy all the paraphernalia, right? And this is what a man named Kevin Kelly has written about. And there's an article called 1,000 True Fans, actually, which has inspired my book, Super Fans. And it's very much covered in the beginning of the book here. And much of credit to Kevin Kelly. He says, you don't need a blockbuster hit to be successful. You just need 1,000 fans. Why 1,000? Because if you think about it, 1,000 true fans, like the people I described,
Right.
if they pay you on the low end $100 a year, which is less than $10 a month, for your art, your craft, your coaching, your services, whatever it might be, that's 100 times 1,000. That's $100,000. That's your six-figure business right there
Yeah.
for just 1,000 people. And if you want to put that into perspective, that's a fan a day for less than 3 years. Can you create a single fan a day? In 3 years, you're going to have over 1,000, and you're going to have that supportive ecosystem and structure under you that's going to help you spread your art, spread your message, spread your creations. And so if you could build for those fan-like moments, then you're going to be okay. But again, we're forgetting about that. It's all about the relationships.
So, so true. I'm curious for you. I couldn't, I think you're speaking such truth here. And I think I'm getting very lost with social media. I know that I'm very careful what I share, what I post. It's always, how is this going to serve? And anything that's not in that high level sharing, I don't follow. I think you can get very lost. How do you, with all that you're doing, really keep connected to relationships, to, you're clearly so connected to what you do and care so deeply. And I'm curious, how do you manage that? How do you balance? Like, how does that look like for you, Pat?
It's not easy, especially at this level now.
Yeah.
When I first started out, I think what was really helpful, and this is for anybody who's an entrepreneur who's just starting out, like
Right.
if you have 10 email subscribers, like who are those 10 people? What are their needs? What are they like? What are their families like? What are their, concerns? All that stuff is easy to know when you only have like 10 or 100 or even 1,000.
Yeah.
But once you start to get over 1,000 people, it starts to get a little bit messy in terms of, okay, who's this guy? Like, I don't remember this person, but I know they're in my audience, and you can't answer every email anymore. You can't answer and reply to every comment anymore. So what needs to happen is you need to be even more focused on the clusters of people in your audience. So there's specific types of people, right? The different buckets of your audience. And I have come to learn over time that in my audience, for example, there's a lot of people who are literally just starting out, who haven't lifted a finger in business, and they have to be spoken to in a certain way. There's a certain language that they respond to. There's a certain number of goals that they have that are different from the people who have started, who have tasted success but aren't quite there yet. They have a certain set of problems. They need to know what to say no to. They need to know what to scale. They need to know how to automate their systems a little bit. And then there's a third tier. There's the people who have found success, who are now building teams and getting employees and want to learn about tax sort of credits and tax savings, and like that stuff is stuff that for the beginner is irrelevant. Right. And if I were to just send a message to everybody and go, hey, SPI audience, here are ways that you could save money on your business taxes in 2020. Well, the beginners who haven't started yet, they're lost. They're like, oh, I must be in the wrong place because you're speaking language that's way beyond me. Right. And vice versa. If I speak to the beginners, but I share that with the advanced people, they're going to go, oh, well, I'm beyond this already. So you need to know what the buckets are in your audience, and using tools like ConvertKit or other segmentation tools for email, you're able to send then specific messages to those groups of people, so that, yes, I might be sending a message to a cluster of people, a few thousand, but to that individual, because I know a little bit about what stage they're at, to them it feels very personal. And that's how you can remain on that personal level with people, and then continuing to share bits and pieces about yourself, getting to continue to be authentic along the way. Owning up to mistakes, I think, is another big part of this as well. And every once in a while, reaching out to individuals. One thing that I do that I think a lot of people are very surprised of is I still try to get on calls, 10 to 15 calls every single month with an individual who had just subscribed to my email list, because then I can have a one-on-one conversation with them and ask them questions like, what are you struggling with right now? What have you tried to do to solve your problem but didn't work? If you could wave a magic wand, what would be on my website right now that would be really helpful to you? If I could help you in any way, what way, like how might I be able to do that right now? And then I can just understand, even though that's one person, they represent somebody in that bucket, and I can then speak to everybody. And then when I say, oh, I had a chat with Benny for an hour, yes, it wasn't a chat with every single person in that group, but it was a chat with a representative of that group. So therefore, they feel like I chatted with them because they are a member of the group too. They're a member of the community. And when you can highlight members of your community, there's a large section of superfans that's about this. Right. Even though you highlight one person, they represent the bigger whole, and thus they'll feel like they're getting that personal attention still. And they also love to see people in their community be rewarded or advanced or featured, because again, they feel like they are right there with them. So it's not like I'm on a mountaintop speaking down to everybody. I'm in there with you. And that I think that's alluding to a lot of why a lot of people feel that connection with me, because it's never about me being better than you or you doing better than me. It's we're all in this together, right? And that's why my audience is known as Team Flynn, because we're all on the same team. I might wear the C on my shoulder. I'm the captain, but I'm going to pass you the ball every once in a while, and you're going to score. And guess what? Our whole team will advance because of it. And so that's how I try to treat my audience. Actually, naming your audience, which I know you've done as well. I heard it here in the beginning in the intro, is another smart strategy to get them feel like you get your audience to feel like they're a part of something, and making them feel, like I said earlier, like they belong. People are just, we are humans and we want to feel like we belong to something. Give them something to belong to. You have to have your own culture. You have your own name, your own rules. And like, what do you stand for? If you don't stand for something, then what can people stand with you for? Nothing. You have to actually take a stance for something. And yes, that's going to segment some people out. And I think this is the hardest thing too. We try to please everybody, right? But if you try to please everybody and you don't take a stance, or you take so many stances that they're conflicting, well, you're not going to be able to actually help anybody. And this is where we a lot of times worry about like the haters and the trolls out there. But the truth is, and I've heard this time and time again, it's easier said than done. But if you get trolls and haters, you're probably doing the right thing. It means that you are taking a stance. And as much as you might be getting those negative comments, you probably have 1,000 more positive ones coming in from the people who are following you, the people who do like you. Now, I know you know this. I know this as well. We have a weird math as entrepreneurs. One negative comment is greater than 100 positive comments. But we have to continue to pay attention to the people who are supporting us and serve them. And you got to take that stance, because that's how people will be able to support, to know what to support, and know what they belong to, and know who else to bring into the tribe.
Whew, well said. So well said. I mean, there's a lot, there's a lot of, right. My show notes are going to be like, you got to listen to the
There's a
whole
lot.
thing.
I'm sorry, but
No, don't be apologize. It's amazing.
It's all packed in Superfans for you. This is why it's in a book and not just a blog post. There's a lot to be said here. And it's definitely it's kind of a library of all these different kinds of strategies you can use to provide these amazing experiences for your people. And in turn, you will be rewarded for that.
Absolutely. Well, and I can it's so clear what you stand for. And one of the things I've always loved about you and being, I feel like part of the team and community is your authentic desire to connect and help solve problems and help people to win. It does feel like, okay, ball passed over here, and you celebrate. Sometimes it can seem like it's all about that one person, and it doesn't feel that way with you at all. You're so about the team and about really these authentic connections, which I think is what our world needs.
And you're demonstrating that, right? Like, you're helping to support my book Superfans, and you feel like we're in it together, right? And if it were to, knock on wood, reach a list, I mean, everybody who supported the book would feel like they're on that list too. And that's the kind of feeling I want. And that's what I think everybody should shoot for when it comes to building your audience and your tribe.
Yeah.
And that's how that to me is success, right? Success isn't money. You're helping people, and your earnings are a byproduct of how well you serve others. That your earnings and how much you make and how successful you are as an entrepreneur is a byproduct of how well you serve your audience. And that's really what it comes down to. Nobody's ever been poor by helping others.
Amazing. Last really quick question,
Sure.
Pat, when you think about, what you stand for in legacy, and what kind of, I know you have children and a family, and you have so many super fans. What's the legacy you want to leave? What's your bigger?
I mean, my end game is to become known for being somebody who has been an agent of change in the world of education. More specifically, putting entrepreneurship into education, much like how reading, science, English, and math are all subjects. Entrepreneurship should be a subject in school as well, and to teach that in a way where everybody would be able to start understanding what their own superpowers are, and how to serve others using those superpowers. Everybody's different, and that's the thing. And I think that the way school is today, it tries to print out the same kind of person. And I think everybody is different. And I think that the more you know about yourself and what you can do, the more likely you are to serve others and help make the world a better place in your own special way. And to me, for my legacy, I want people to see that in me from my own example. I always say lead by example, and I'm just trying to find my special superpowers and contribute and hopefully inspire others to do the same.
That's awesome. That's so powerful. And I would say you certainly are doing it and leading the way. And I'm just, not only wishing you much success on Superfans, I'm definitely going to get it. We will be sharing it. I think
Thank you.
everyone needs to get all of your books. I was part of a lot of questionnaires with the Will It Fly book. I've got so many of those. Tell me about my like superpower. It's so funny. I was looking before we started. I'm like, oh my God, I've answered like 15 of these.
That's awesome.
I just honor you. You're such a powerful change maker, and
Thank
thank you
you,
for
Julie.
being so authentic and real, and for teaching so many of us how to be our real selves, our the me is me, the you is you, to be
I
able
love that. I love
to
that so much.
make a change.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.